So, Clawhammer Banjo. It's an amazing style, and it's very much centered around the right hand. That's really what it's all about. So we're going to, this video is going to focus pretty much exclusively on the basic right hand technique, and hopefully get you started with some good technique and get you off and running on your clawhammer journey. So the beauty of clawhammer is that it can self-accompany. So it's great for playing tunes, it's great for playing rhythm, it's great for getting a bit of percussion, and it's great for bringing all of that together. So at its heart, I suppose, clawhammer, I guess the role that most people would associate with clawhammer is in old-time music, where it sort of accompanies the fiddle with a very sort of strong rhythmic part, but also tends to play bits of the tune as well, or maybe even a whole tune, and you get this really cool effect from that. I'm more from the melodic clawhammer end of things, so what that basically means is I often use the banjo as a kind of like a solo instrument, so I'll try and play a melody in its entirety and cover all the melody. But I love that traditional clawhammer sound, and I try and bring that into my playing as well, so we try and get the best of both worlds. Don't know whether I always achieve it, but I try. So the great thing with clawhammer is you can take any melody and just enrich it. So you can have a melody like Salt Creek, which I played slightly wrong there, but don't worry about that. So that's the melody, and then you got like the chords. And then you can just put that all together. So he really sort of has an amazing ability to cover all bases, really. So the right hand, how do we go about doing it? Firstly, form your hand into a claw, as the name suggests. So you're going to have a claw shape to your hand, and we're going to play with the back of either your index finger or your middle finger. My tea was very strong this morning. So either your index finger or your middle finger. And so you're going to play with that bit of your nail. Have a go with both, see which one feels a bit more comfortable. It can actually be quite useful if you can use either of them, because nails have a tendency to break, which is very annoying when you're a clawhammer player. So, sort of feel free to use whichever one feels right for you. I recommend you keep your claw unit all together. That's what works for me. For me, it feels like a stronger stroke that way. Some players play with maybe one finger out the way. That's fine as well, whatever works for you. What I would steer clear of, though, is your playing finger being isolated, because I think you get a slightly weaker stroke that way. So support your playing finger with your other fingers. It would be my recommendation. And you're going to sit with your banjo, try and sit up straight. I've had terrible posture in the past, and trust me, it plays havoc. That's why I've got some strapping on my shoulder here. So really try and sit up straight. Keep your banjo just there at this sort of angle. Most of you will probably have an armrest on your banjo. If your arm sits on there, and you want to be playing around about this area. Some of you might have a scoop in the banjo. Obviously that's where you play, but anywhere sort of around this area. And the movement, I guess there's a little bit of debate around this. I generally say that the movement comes from the arm. Others say it comes from the wrist. It's probably a bit of both. I think, again, a little bit personal preference, but the crucial thing is that there is plenty of movement. You don't want to be too static. And you don't want the movement to come from your sort of digits. I would say keep the movement coming from your arm, and you'll get just a little bit more out of it, I think. So to begin with, let's just take a look at playing a chord. So no left hand, this is just the right hand, and just have a go at doing this. So that's your basic downstroke. So just playing a little chord there. Do that a few times. And your right hand thumb plays a very important role. Generally, up until we do drop thumbing, your thumb's main role is to play the 5th string. And even once we've done drop thumbing, that's still the thumb's main role. So we have this drone string here. And generally the way that we work, if we're in 4/4 time, which means we have 4 beats in the bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. On the beat, so on 1, 2, 3 or 4, we're generally always going to be playing with our playing finger. All the notes in between, so that's the ands, we're generally going to be using our thumb, or a left hand slur, which we'll come to later, or indeed no note at all, but it's always that pattern of down, up, down, up. Now when you play with your thumb, my recommendation is, firstly when you do the downstroke, get your thumb to land on the 5th string, like that, because then your thumb is ready to play the 5th string, like that. Because if you imagine if your thumb doesn't land on the 5th string, it's got to find the 5th string and then play it. If you land on it, it's just there, ready to go. And even if you're not playing a note, get your thumb to land there anyway. It's just a really good habit, because your right hand is basically always going to be doing this movement, down, up. And we call that cycle, don't do that, we call this cycle sometimes MT, MT, MT. So what that means is M stands for middle finger, or your index finger. So you're going to play with that on the beat, and then T is your thumb off the beat. So far we've done what's called a brush, so that's a chord, and then the thumb, like that. The next step is to play a single note rather than a whole chord. So what I would recommend is practice playing each string followed by the 5th string, maybe 4, 8 times each, something like that. And when you play your single strings, use exactly the same technique that you do when you play your chords. You don't have to change anything except just hit the one string. I know that sounds obvious, but often in the sheer unbridled terror of playing a wrong note or a wrong string, people have a tendency to abandon the technique completely, find the string that they want, stick one finger out just to make sure that they hit the right string. To be completely blunt, that's a waste of time. It's understandable, but it's a waste of time, because even though you are playing the right string, you're going to play it like you're terrified, which isn't much fun. It won't sound very good, because you'll sound like you're terrified. You won't get much power in it. You'll never really be able to play fast like this. Your timing won't be very good. It's just not worth it. Get the hang of the technique, and if you play some wrong notes to begin with, don't worry about it, because your muscle memory will begin to kick in, and you'll learn when you're playing more strings than you mean to. Record yourself as well, that really helps. I know it feels cringy, but record yourself and think, oh yeah, I can hear that. I'm playing multiple strings at once. I only want to be playing one. And just keep going until you get there. But don't abandon the technique, because the technique will work. You just need to persevere with it. And don't worry about playing a wrong note. And that stands by the way, when you're playing music in general, music is about communication. Music is about expression. So play it with plenty of energy. Play it like you mean it. And if you hear a wrong note, at least you'll have plenty of energy, which is what music is all about. I'd rather hear this now. There were 2 wrong notes in there, but I thought that was quite musical. There was quite a lot of energy in there. There's some quite good stuff in there. If I play it like this, I'm bored already. Didn't sound very good. The notes weren't very good quality. There was no timing. There was no expression. I didn't make a mistake, but it was rubbish, wasn't it? So just don't worry about it. Play with plenty of confidence. Okay, that's my big advice for you. So we've talked about the right hand technique, single notes and chords. To combine those two things is a thing called the bum ditty, which is a very prevalent lick in clawhammer music. And it's called bum ditty because that's the rhythm that we get. Bum ditty bum ditty bum ditty bum ditty. And it's great for accompaniment. So if you're accompanying yourself singing, some bright morning when this life is over, I'll fly away. Great for accompaniment, great for accompanying tunes. It's great for within a tune. You can use it to sort of back yourself, so it gives you a bit of fill the space in between the notes. It's great. Bum ditty is brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to teach you that, and then I recommend you practice it plenty because you'll need it plenty. So bum ditty goes like this. You play one note on its own. So let's take the third string, so that's the middle string. You're going to play that on its own, you G. Then that's beat 1. Then you've got a gap, so you've got 1 and, which is where you're going to move your arm up, ready for your next downstroke. Don't just leave it down there, because you'll have to go up to go down again, so you may as well use the time. So 1 and, then 2 is your chord, and then the 5th string on the end, and that's it. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. Practice that as much as you like. You can never do enough of it. So keep on practicing that. If you're getting a bit bored of the sound of G, feel free to put some other chords on. You can find chords elsewhere online. I'll give you a couple. There's a C chord, so that's first finger here, second finger here, third finger here. And a D7, which is those 2 fingers there. So take those chords and just keep playing bum ditty, maybe changing chords if you're getting bored of the sound. What I'd recommend you do, similar to the single note exercise, is play each string and a bum ditty like maybe 4 times each. Keep going round and round that. So hopefully that gives you the basics of the right hand to get you started, get yourself moving on your clawhammer journey, and there's loads more to come, loads of other videos, loads of videos on particular techniques and everything. But if you're new to all this, then hopefully that gives you a bit of a taster to get yourself started. Any questions, get in touch, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks very much.